right, today's lesson is all about time signatures. So that's when you're reading a piece of music, how many beats are in a measure, what a measure is, what the groove is supposed to be, how much each note is worth, stuff like that. So this is pretty important stuff. I'm going to show you what the top number of a time signature means, the bottom number of a time signature means, and then I'm going to hopefully be able to show you what each of the different feels like. So let's jump in, and hopefully some of that will make some more sense. So the first thing is, where is the time signature? It's right next to the clef signs. So here in the bass clef, treble clef, and then sometimes you'll have sharps or flats right there, and then you get these two numbers sitting one on top of the other one. Most people only pay attention to the top number. Let me show you what they both mean. First, the top number itself is going to tell you, if we go to this larger one here, the top number is going to tell you how many counts are in each measure. So in most cases, this is going to be a 4. That's definitely the most common one. In fact, it's so common that sometimes instead of a 4 here, they'll just put a big C standing for common time, meaning 4/4 time. It's common time. It's the most common time. So 4 beats in a measure is just usually what you're used to listening to in most pop songs, rock songs, anything in like any swing song. It's going to be 4/4 times. So it just means like you're counting to 4, and then you're going to have like a really heavy beat 1 after that. So something like, if we take Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, for example, we'd have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So hopefully you can feel, even in that simple little song, that every time we hit beat 1, it just feels like more important, or it feels heavier or more significant somehow. So one more time, really listening for the feel of that beat 1. That's going to be the most important part here. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that beat 1 is really, really important. And in 4/4 time, you've got 4 counts before you have that significant, that important beat. And that's really what determines a time signature in a song, is where does the important beat land. And if it lands every 4 beats, then you got 4 beats in every measure. If it lands every 3 beats, you got 3 beats in a measure. Now the bottom number is going to tell you, this number right here is going to tell you what kind of note we're counting with, or what kind of note gets 1 beat, or what kind of note gets the beat, are all different ways that it's been said before. So if a 4 is on the bottom, you got to imagine this is a fraction, and that 4 is the bottom number of the fraction. So if we bring that over here, we've got, a 4 right there, and then if we put a 1 over it, 1/4, 1/4 is another name for that. And so the quarter note would get 1 beat. So we'd be counting with quarter notes. So in other words, we got 4 beats, and what's worth 1 beat? A quarter note is worth 1 beat, because we got a 4 on the bottom. So 4 quarter notes fits in 1 measure. You don't have to use all quarter notes, of course. You can use eighth notes and half notes and whole notes and all that stuff. But it's just saying the size of that measure, whatever you put in there has to equal 4 quarter notes. Let's find some examples down here. So this one is 4/4 time right here. So we've got, you can see this first measure actually is 4 quarter notes, and then we hit the bar line. The bar line's just telling you, watch out, beat 1 is coming up, or we're resetting the measure, we're resetting the counts. So we would count this 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, like I said, you don't have to put all quarter notes in your measure. You can use half notes if you want. So these half notes would get 1, 2, because a half note is always worth 2 quarter notes, no matter what time signature you're in. And then this one over here would get 3, 4, because again, it's another half note. So you're counting on this, in each measure has to equal 4 quarter notes, because that's what it said, in our time signature, was that we were going to use 4 quarter notes. And so whatever we put in that measure just has to equal 4 quarter notes. Now, like I said, 4/4 is the most common. It's not even like a recognizable thing. If you hear something in 4/4, it doesn't feel like 4/4. It most likely just feels like a normal song. When we start moving to other time signatures is where things start to feel like they've got some kind of funky groove to them. So let's check out what 3/4 would be. So if we have the time signature of 3/4, that means a 3 is on top, a 4 is on the bottom, which means we're still using quarter notes as our main note. It's the one that we're counting with. We're counting with quarter notes, and we're going to fit 3 of them in a measure. So now we've got 3 quarter notes. That's what that time signature means. So in this first measure, you can see we actually put 3 quarter notes literally in that measure. And then we just put the equivalent of that in this measure over here, where we have 1 quarter note and then 1 half note that would equal 2 quarter notes. So we have the equivalent of 3 quarter notes. Now, it might seem kind of random right now, like, well, why would you use 3/4 instead of 4/4? Why not use 1,000,004 and just have the whole thing be one measure? Well, like I said, wherever you feel like that significant heavy beat coming in, that's always going to be beat 1. And so you just count up until you have another one of those really heavy beats, and that tells you what time signature we're in. So, for example, if we have something like this, and we've got our Twinkle Twinkle Little Star happening, right? Beat 1 feels like 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. However, if we take that same thing and instead we use this beat right here, and now we've got, now, every 3 beats, we have this really heavy feel. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So now we're playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in 3/4, and you can feel like it's got like this different, like this waltzy feel to it. Usually in 3/4, we've got like beat 1 is really, really heavy. So we'll have like beat 1 right here. And then beat 2 and 3 will be like really light feels up here. Now, I'm not saying that you played those notes, but the feel of it is really heavy and then light, light, pa, 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 pa. And whenever you have that feel, you're in 3/4. It's a waltz feel, and it's always going to have that. So hopefully you're starting to see why like these time signatures are significant things, because depending on what numbers you put where, they have entirely different feels to them, entirely different grooves. You can't be grooving on an pa pa feel when we're in 4/4 time, because it's not going to work. They're going to be putting their significant beats every 4 beats. They're going to be landing on a beat 1, and you're going to be doing it every 3 beats, and you'll just be entirely off. Let me show you a couple more examples here. This time our bottom number is not a 4, it's an 8, which means if we put the 8 at the bottom of the fraction, we'd have 1/8, which would be an 8th note is going to get 1 beat. So we're counting with 8th notes. How many of them can we fit in a measure? We can fit 6 8th notes in a measure. That's what 6/8 time means, or it was 6 on the top and an 8 on the bottom. That 6/8 time signature means that we can fit 6 8th notes per measure. So here we've literally put 6 8th notes in a measure, right? And then over here, we've just done the equivalent of that. So this would be worth 2 of them. So then we'd get another one right here. That'd be 3 of them, 4. And then this is worth 2 8th notes. So that would be beats 5 and 6. Just like you have your counting written in there for you. 1, 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, 6. It's going to be the rhythm there. Now, the significant thing about 6/8, I mean, technically 6/8 as a fraction equals 3/4 as a fraction. So you have the same number of 8th notes or quarter notes in each measure. But 6/8 has a significantly different feel in that the 6/8 always, we say it feels in 2 parts. In other words, there's a first half and a second half. I told you the 3/4 always feels like pa, pa, right? Whereas the 6/8 feels like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in 2 distinct halves, which is why even in this measure right here, you can see we split this up as 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, because you have a significant beat happening on beat 1, and then like a secondarily significant beat happening on beat 4. So that sounds a little something like this. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can hear, like, I'm counting to 6, and it definitely has like 2 parts to it. It's definitely the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't feel like pa, 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 pa. It doesn't have that feel anymore, right? Whereas when we go back to the waltz feel, it has that pa, 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 really the same speed, like I said, the same number of quarter notes or eighth notes per measure, but an entirely different feel. So now when we have this 6/8 thing, now we get so whenever you have that, like that feel right there, that's always going to be the 6/8 feel, where it's kind of usually it feels a little bit faster. In some cases, it'll be like a slow 6/8. 1, 2, 3. But it always has like those two parts to it with 3 separate little parts in it, the 1, 2, 3, and the 4, 5, 6. So that's the 6/8 feel. Now, one more here that it's kind of in the same vein is this 2/2. Now, obviously, 2/2 is equivalent mathematically to 4/4. So we got the same number of notes per measure. So in other words, you could fit 4 quarter notes in 2/2. You could also fit 4 quarter notes in a 4/4. You fit 2 half notes in a 2/2. You could also fit 2 half notes in a 4/4. Again, this bottom number right here, meaning that we're counting with 1/2 half notes, and then we're using 2 of them per measure. But the 2/2 feel has a different feel from the 4/4 in the same way that 6/8 and 3/4, even though they're mathematically the same, the feel of them is significantly different. So in a 2/2, we've really brought, we've kind of clustered the first 2 beats, 1 and 2, together of the 4/4, and we've clustered the last 2 beats, the 3 and the 4, together. So now this just feels like one whole beat, and this feels like one whole beat. So now we're just counting them as 1, 2. 1, 2. You get this feel a lot in like marching band stuff, but then also like this 1, 2, 1, 2. This really is not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. I mean, technically, I guess you could count it that way, but the feel really is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. It's just got that like 2-part bouncy feel to it. So then, in this measure right here, we've got that one. We're just counting it as beat 1 because now a half note gets 1 beat. And this one right here, we're just counting that as beat 2 because a half note gets 1 beat. And then over here, we've got this whole note, which we're just counting as 1, 2. So now if we play, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and we try to use these different time signatures, then let's go ahead and just go in order here. So let's start out with the 4/4. It would be something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we go to 3/4, it would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or if we go to 6/8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And then if we have the 2/2 feel, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's just, by changing the time signatures. I'm not really even changing much of the notes here, and we're just having the feel of, counting 2 parts with half notes, or counting 6 parts with eighth notes. That's what the time signature does. So now you understand the top number in a time signature, you understand the bottom number in a time signature, so now you're in a really small group of people who understand what in the world the bottom number is for. And hopefully you're starting to understand that in each of our time signatures, they each have their own unique feel to them, so it's extremely important to use the correct time signature. And when you're reading a piece of music and you see a time signature, you automatically know, here's the feel of it. If you see a 3/4 at the beginning, you go, okay, so this is the pa pa thing. Or if you see a 6/8, it's like, okay, here's that rock thing that's like, the 2 parts that go back and forth with 3 little sub parts inside of them. So hopefully that stuff is making sense, but this is not all there is to time signatures. So if you've got more, I'd love to hear your feedback. Send me a video, send me a comment, an email, whatever. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, see how you've taken this concept to the next level. Until next time, good luck, have fun.